Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you're all doing well and I hope you're all staying safe as usual. So, we did 10 to 8 in the last video for my countdown of my top 10 Dead Cells weapons, and now we are going to do 7 through 5 today. So if you're seeing me for the first time, I do a lot of Dead Cells content, yada yada yada. So something subscribe, something comment, or whatever algorithm stuff and all that good stuff. So anyways, at number 7, we have got the Balance Blade, and the Balance Blade is a very criminally underrated weapon in my opinion because of the fact that it is very, very fast. I think it might be the fastest melee weapon. Someone fact check that for me, but it's got to be up there at least. And what that allows it to do is that it makes it a prime dual binding candidate. So what we're doing is we are going to be running with the shield for a while, and then we are going to be doing a throwing knife and a balance blade dual bind. I'll talk about some of my history with the balance blade, and then we will go ahead and go from there. So enjoy this next part of the list, everybody. So as I said earlier, the balance blade is really good when it comes to just that speed portion of it, right? So you can see how fast it goes, and the way it basically works, I think the only time this hasn't been the case was like 1.0 or 1.1 or something like that. Basically, if you hit a bunch of enemies 10 times in a row, or one enemy 10 times in a row, doesn't really matter, and you start to get crits, and those crits actually stack up. So if you're a Skull the Hero Slayer fan, think something like Thief's Black Steel Dagger, where you get those continuous crits over time. And not only do you get continuous crits, you get an increased crit damage. So the 10th strike will get you a critical hit, but it won't be the most powerful hit. That will actually be the 20th hit. And then afterwards, it'll stay at 20 for however long until you reset. So that's why it's really good against bosses. It is 100% a boss killer. Like, it does really, really fantastically in boss fights. And you're going to get a chance to see all of that. Let's talk about this curse first of all. I do have combo and open wounds equipped. Just two fantastic brutality mutations that I always take with me, and I really like both of them. One really good thing about Balance Blade is that the crits do breach enemies. In, I think, 1.1, they made the change that, like, the regular hits will not stagger the enemies, meaning it's not going to breach them. But later on, the crits were added, and they were changed in such a way that, like, they are going to happen now. And what the crits really do well is, 1, it breaches, 2, it stacks up in damage over time, but 3, it makes something like Instinct of the Master of Arms very good against boss battles. And that's one of the reasons I really like it. It also does the dual bind thing really well. So one of the builds that I was working really hard on, unfortunately I never really got a chance to show it off on the channel. I may do it like in a custom mode thing. It was Firebrand / throwing knife with the balance blade, of course, and I had an infantry grenade and I had a swarm grenade, and it was quad binded, meaning everything was binded to the same button, and that was a lot of fun. It was chaotic as hell. Like, I died like 4 or 5 times before I figured it out. By the way, with Toxic Miasma, you can actually roll through them even if they've already expanded and exploded or did whatever they did. So yeah, that's why I didn't get hit in that situation, and I pick up Challenge Rune, gonna do the Challenge Rune shenanigans and all that good stuff. So yeah, I mean, Balance Blade, I think what it is, I think it's an inherent case of a lot of people kind of look at base DPS and undervalue a weapon, or they may overrate a weapon because of that. I remember one of my friends showed me a tier list, and you know, I'm not going to give this person's name or anything like that, but the tier list basically, it literally ranked all the Dead Cells weapons in terms of base DPS. So Balance Blade was like bottom tier, Hakuto's Bow and Carbine were bottom tier because they don't have high base DPSs, but like, why would they? That's not what they're there for. And so obviously like Nutcracker and Giant Killer and stuff like that got top tier, and you know, if you like those weapons and those are top tier for you, fine. They're not for me, but it's, I mean, that's fine. It was just bugging me that like lower DPS weapons kind of get the shaft, and I think that's kind of where people fall into issues with this game, is that they're looking at that base DPS and making assumptions based off of it instead of looking at the utility and what it's actually good at. And in this case, Balance Blade, again, it's speed. So you have to make sure that you're going as fast as possible, that you're basically taking no prisoners, you know, no pun intended. And you're going to do a lot of damage in a short amount of time. I mean, you know, you do need a little bit of synergy, of course, but after a while, you're going to end up pretty much cleaving through entire biomes and mobs at once. And now you're going to get to see how good the Balance Blade is against Conjunctivius, because, you know, now I've got this knife dance with bleeding causes poisoning, I have a flame turret, and again, we still have the knife double binded to the Balance Blade, and I don't have the crits yet. Kanji likes to fly around like that, but now I do. So now what are we going to do? Well, we're going to wait for some of these tentacles and then try to continue our crits. Unfortunately, I waited a little bit too long, played it a little bit too safe. So that's good to know for next time I run this weapon. Don't do stuff like that. The other thing I will say as a criticism against Balance Blade is that it, in line with the whole base DPS argument, it's not very good until you start getting synergy on it, meaning you start getting things like double damage or the poison damage or bleeding damage, especially bleeding damage, because with open wounds, this absolutely, it just massacres enemies. So I will say that is the one knock I would say that's like legitimately a problem. And because if you take this like in 0 BC, you know, you don't have a lot of things unlocked, and yeah, you're gonna run into issues there. But yeah, I mean, once you're in like 3, 4, 5 BC, like definitely give this one a shot. Especially if you're on 4 BC and you have like the 100% S forge and all that stuff, like from the boss forges, like yeah, definitely take this weapon. And yeah, I mean, you know, I kind of went on a huge tangent and slash rant about this, but it does kind of not irritate, but it does kind of bug me when really good weapons are overlooked because of something that's kind of irrelevant at the end of the day in base DPS. So anyways, Kanji fight, perfect fight, and yeah, we're gonna move on to the graveyard. I mean, typically I go to the Slumbering Sanctuary, but in this case, I decided to go to graveyard because I don't feel like fighting Distillery / High Peak Castle. So the plan here, I did fight Kanji, I went to Toxic Sewers route and all that. I'm gonna go to graveyard, into Cavern, into Giant, and then call it, and then Hand of the King, and then 5 BC stuff, and then call it a day. So yeah, there's not much else to note in the run. I mean, you know, you're cleaving through enemies. One thing I will say, the third mutation I pick up is Predator. And Predator, being Brutality now, is actually pretty interesting because it synergizes with so many different types of weapons. And with a speedy weapon like Balance Blade, you absolutely can get a lot of really cool hits off. So that is something I would say is really good about the new update, especially like all the stat reworks and the mutation reworks. I think they were put in the right places now that I've like had time to think about it and let it simmer. We're gonna pick up the Curse in the graveyard, and I beat most of the enemies, so I had the Explorer's Instinct on, and I was just more looking for the enemies at this point. I left a few on the map intentionally, and I know there was one in like a cell door. I don't remember which cell door it was. You know, I've watched the footage like 2 or 3 times and I still don't remember certain things, and it's always so weird because I watch it and then I'm like, oh, okay, I know what's about to happen, and no, the reality is no. So after a little trip to the shop, now we're finally gonna go into our cell door and then start beating up some baddies. I'm trying to avoid that elite with as much as I can, because if it's like an overhead turret or something like that, I'm pretty much dead because I gotta do close combat. Able to clear the Curse. The elite ability didn't end up mattering. It was just a rotating laser, which, by the way, if you are running a double damage weapon, stay away from that rotating laser because it'll hit you a bunch of times and you'll die. So you don't want to deal with that. We're in caverns now and demons are flying up towards me. I don't know how they see me when I'm invisible or why they're flying up to me. I know like they can see me for a second, but like they're still attacking me when I'm invisible, which is interesting, but probably intentional. I think invisibility can be a little bit overpowered at times. As you can see, now I've taken the last rating R and a Corrupted Power, 2 excellent abilities to get, or 2 excellent skills to get at max level, especially Corrupted Power, which I feel is not great unless you get the Electrocutes Enemy affix. And yeah, like I really like Corrupted Power in that respect, just because of the fact that like you can do a lot of just quick damage. Elite Ground Shaker with the shield, it is one of the most obnoxious things in this entire game. That and elite cages, like, just, I don't know. it can definitely be a bit of a pain in the butt sometimes, especially just because you're trying not to get hit by that ground shaker, but then you don't have a choice, especially if you're inside the cage. So the slammers are kind of the same way. I kind of get lucky with the boulder, like the down smash into the boulders, but for the most part, like, I knew I wasn't gonna get hit there. Like, yeah, gonna move on here. Giant fight, it's gonna go by quickly, and there's not much to commentate here. Balance Blade gets the crits, and it just absolutely wrecks everything afterwards, and yeah, that's the fight. So you can see, like, the health bar went really quickly at the end there, and that's because I had max blood stacks due to the double binding and the open wound and all that stuff. So for those of you who saw my, I think it was a post commentary I did with the blood sword, it was like an all bleed build. Yeah, that same thing happened right there. And basically the bleed stacks explodes when it gets up to, I believe, 5. And after that, it does a fairly significant amount of damage. One other thing I want to note is and this is going to apply to one of the other runs in this video. I think it's 2 runs from now. And I really miss Hokuto's bow on Brutality. Because if we think about, I would have loved to have something like a Hokuto's bow in the backpack, and I would have taken the, I would have taken the Acrobatic Pack mutation. And that would have actually ended up breaking this run even more. But I understand the reasons. It's a ranged weapon, but, you know, I am kind of sad to see it go. I'm going to avoid all the bombs and then wait for Hand of the King to do his single strike, basically go down, and then I am going to be getting the crits very shortly. And I just got to keep hitting this guy and then avoid all the dashes and the flags and stuff like that. He keeps attacking me to where, like, it's hard for me to, like, get those crits established, but that's the thing, like, they will come. Like, I'm not worried. They are going to come during this fight. I just have to keep avoiding. You have a fair amount of time to get the crits, and I believe I get him here, yep. And you can see his health just vanishes in a matter of, well, seconds. So, perfect Hand of the King, perfect Giant, perfect Kanji. Will we perfect the final 5 DC boss? Stay tuned and find out. We're not going to. Also, what the hell was I doing there? The only reason I even survived that is because I had a quadruple jump. So yeah, not my best moment. Don't play around with the birds. Use your skills, you know. Don't mess around like that. And granted, I have enough money, I can go get a health pot, but still, like, wow, that was bad. So now we've got open wounds and the emergency triage, and as I said earlier, Instinctive Master Arms works really well as a final boss fight, especially if you have a weapon that does crits. Collector stopped attacking there because of the fact that my, I think, Corrupted Power freezes enemies when done. And I get hit by one of the bombs above because he knocks me back when he does his healing, which is so obnoxious. And I was so irritated that I didn't get my no-hit. And I just lost concentration after that because I was really irritated. Because I was just like, why is he knocking me into his own attacks? Like, that doesn't feel like... I don't know. I don't know. But that's not even going to matter because I lose said concentration. Now, everything is going to go really badly for me because I keep trying to attack him. And, you know, don't attack him when the tornadoes are coming. You know, just saying. Maybe I should play a little bit better instead of complaining to myself about getting hit by one of those like ceiling bomb thingies. But I am able to heal. You know, it sucks. It sucks to get hit like that, and I almost threw away the run there because of my own like lack of concentration there. And I was getting greedy on the damage, and it's just stuff that you don't want to do in this game. Like you got to be paying attention constantly. And then I almost choke at the very end here because he drags me along with this little spin attack, and yeah, I kind of almost threw the run right there, but you can see throughout the entirety of the run, I was pretty much locked in. I didn't get hit by a single boss until Collector Fight and until the end of Astrolab. Like, I think, like, even thinking about this run, Astrolab getting hit the way I did, I think that really threw me off and kind of messed with my confidence a little bit. And then the Collector Fight was just the icing on the cake. So, lesson to be learned here, you know, don't lose focus, and if you get hit, you'll be fine. Just recover from it and move on, and don't worry about it too much. And I need to follow my own advice. So moving on to number 6 in the list, and we are going through this pretty quickly. At least from my perspective, we're going through it pretty quickly. And number 6 is going to be the War Javelin. War Javelin has been through a couple changes. It was introduced in 1.2 as part of the Rise of the Giant DLC. I do have a guide on the War Javelin, on the new War Javelin, and you can check it out on my channel. It's in the Strategy Guides playlist. I'll probably leave a card if I remember to do that. If I don't remember, someone let me know and I will go ahead and edit it and all that stuff. But the War Javelin used to just be as simple, you throw the javelin and then you have to go yourself and retrieve it. But now you can teleport towards it, which makes it even just better. And it makes it absolutely insane and chaotic. And you're going to see that in this run. And what I've decided to do is I have a Hokuto's bow in my backpack slot, and I have the Marksman's bow, which is not a weapon that I use a lot, but works fantastically with the War Javelin. So hope you enjoy that run. So, War Javelin and Marksman Bow. What's the idea behind this? Well, the thing is that War Javelin, I'm using it for its base property, what it's always been known for, which is to basically push enemies away, and then the Marksman's Bow will get me enough space, I can get some crits off, and that's the basic idea of this. Now, why do I love the War Javelin so much? Well, the thing is, chaos. I mean, that's really all it is at the end of the day with a weapon like this. It is pure, unadulterated chaos, especially with that teleportation. Like, I liked it before, but right now, I mean, you can see I'm just flying all over the place right now, and I don't even know where the hell I'm teleporting sometimes, but it's so fun just to be able to teleport, like, anywhere that you want on the map, because it's just like, oh, like, I'm gonna go somewhere random, and you are going to see the dividends of that pretty soon. At the very end, you're gonna see it. It's pretty amazing. It's one of my favorite all-time moments in Dead Cells. Like, I'm still laughing from it. And I truly did enjoy this run. The thing about War Javelin, you gotta remember, it is not the best weapon in the game. It's not even the best utility weapon in the game. Like, Hokuto's Bow obviously is, but it's fun. And I think sometimes I think we get lost in the shuffle of, like, what's good and what's not good. That we gotta remember that we play this game to have fun, and War Javelin absolutely does that for me. So, I'll talk more about War Javelin in a second, but I'll take a second to talk about mutations as we clear this curse. Parting Gift, best mutation in the game, obviously gonna take it. And I've said Parting Gift is the best mutation in the game about 8,000 times now, as I barely avoid the Toxic Miasma. Barely. I'm looking at this again, I barely avoided it. Acrobat Pack, I have a Hokuto's Bow in the backpack slot, and that's the idea behind that. And then I'm going to be taking Tranquility as my last mutation, because I have 2 long-ranged weapons, one of which needs to be long-ranged. So you can see the War Javelin has defensive potential as well, because I'm able to get away from those Inquisitor shots right there, and you can get away from enemies pretty quickly. Of course, you can end up in a position where you throw your Javelin in a spot where you shouldn't be throwing it, like right here. So this is just, this sucks. Like, okay, the rat hits me, fine, whatever, but this one just, oh, and then now we got the bird, and then Toxic Miasma, and then I was like, I gotta get out of here. So, and then I got caught by the cage, and then the elite ability, and then the Inquisitor, and then everything hits me, and then life sucks, and then, okay. I get a little bit back on the rally, so that's good at least, but man, like, that was a crazy mob. And me being reckless with the War Javelin certainly didn't help. I'm gonna go to Rampart for once, because one thing I figured was, while I do this list, and that was awesome right there, I really enjoyed that kill, the triple kills on the bird, and then everything. One thing I did notice is that I don't want to go to the same biomes all the time. I want to do different biome orders and to do different routes. So that's kind of why I do certain things. And one of the things I do is I'm going to go into Still in Clock Tower and then the Timekeeper afterwards. Spoiler alert, I'm going to beat Concierge. I didn't know if you guys realized that. Another defensive potential with the War Javelin, and I got this idea from a Twitch streamer named Definite McLovin, so definitely check them out. You can basically stick it on a wall on another platform, and if an enemy jumps towards you, like a Rampager in this case, well, you can teleport back, and they can't touch you. Against Concierge, I'm going to be throwing my Javelin to random spots so that he will not even come close to touching me. I'm going to do that right there, and it's very useful. And yeah, the fight is kind of trivial right now because he's not going to touch me. He's not even going to come close to touching me because I'm just going to be chilling on the other side. I'm going to teleport to my Javelin right when he wants to do the leap, so I don't have to deal with the aura or none of those shenanigans, and that's going to be an extremely quick kill. So yeah, I mean, this run has been pretty much flawless so far, and not much else to say, but it's going to get worse. Javelin almost got me in trouble right there, and to be honest, I really should be using the Marksman's Bow and not force myself to use the Javelin sometimes. I have the Marksman Bow for a reason. Don't force it. You know, sometimes I get caught up in trying to showcase a weapon, and that gets me into trouble. But yeah, I mean, War Javelin and Marksman's Bow is not a combination I ever thought would be good. And, you know, I'll give my final analysis on that particular build at some point, probably at the end of the run, but it's clearing biomes very easily. Like, both are pretty much, like, famous for being amazing in biomes and horrible against bosses. But, I mean, you saw that with the concierge fight. I mean, it was like a match made in heaven. So, I don't know. I don't know if that narrative is really accurate. But I will say the thing you gotta... One of the other things... There's a lot of things you gotta remember about this game. But one thing that's really cool about the War Javelin is that it just sets you up in range for so many different things. And it's not just marksman's bow, but it's also like just anything. Like when melee tactics was a thing, you could do it. You could still do it, say, to stiletto. Like if you get a Shot's Clone to Toxic Cloud affix on your War Javelin, you can certainly do that. You can use this, you can actually use this now with the Spartan Sandals if you want to do a full-on yeet build. You yeet the enemies with the War Javelin, and then you just teleport and then use Spartan Sandals. I might do that at some point. That would be an absolute nightmare against bosses, but I think it would be fun. Maybe. I don't know. Probably not. It seems like it's better in theory than it actually is, but I don't know. Anyways, so Clock Tower. I have never actually no-hit Clock Tower, so this was a first for me on this run, so that was nice. And this is kind of a memorable thing for me. I've never no-hit Clock Tower in my entire time playing Dead Cells. I may have done it once a long time ago, but I definitely get hit at least 2 or 3 times. Especially with all the spike hits like coming up like randomly. One of the other really good things about the War Javelin is that it pretty much renders Timekeeper useless, because you can War Javelin wherever you want unless you're an idiot like me, and then you just throw it against the wall and there's nowhere to go. So fortunate to not get hit, very, very fortunate, but we were able to no-hit Timekeepers. That's 2 for 2 so far. Will we go 4 for 4? We are not going to go 4 for 4. Get a very quick kill on the Royal Guard Elite, and then I'm going to basically throw my Javelin in the wrong direction again, because I think at this point in the run I was getting a little bit tired, and I was just not having it at this point. Parting Gift deals with the demon for me. It knocks it out of the air, so thank you, Parting Gift. Best ability in the game. And this Royal Guard is going to be annoying, and then it's going to turn Elite, and then it's going to keep dashing towards me. It's a very annoying enemy. Nothing you can do about it. Oh, I have 2 of the most annoying enemies in the game next to me. I didn't even see the Weirded Warrior until now. Hand of the King fight. It's a spoiler why that cutscene was playing. If you're not on 5BC, then it's kind of difficult to explain. But yeah, there is a certain cutscene that plays with certain things, and yeah. Anyways, Hand of the King fight, and both weapons are atrocious against Hand of the King. Because War Javelin doesn't do any damage against Hand of the King, and Marksman's Bow is horrible when you're not in range, so you gotta stay far away from Hand of the King all the time. But you can't, because the Marksman's Bow, you don't have a lot of opportunities to stay far away from Hand of the King, but I'm trying to get my crits where I'm trying to get them. Honestly, like, it's one of those things, like, I'm trying to figure out what the best strategy is with this, and to be honest, like, it's actually going okay so far. Like, I haven't gotten hit yet, even though Hand of the King somehow falls into spikes. He's being very glitchy and weird. I'm gonna mess up on this, on the platforms. I rarely ever mess that up, so I don't exactly know what happened there, but I didn't panic too much. I just try to get a little bit back on the rally. One thing I'll say about weapons like Marksman's Bow and War Javelin, they get a good amount of rally back, so I was able to at least salvage a little bit of it. Hand of the King actually does push me, but somehow doesn't do any damage with the dash. I'm not sure what happened there, but only get hit the one time. I'm going to use my health pot, and then we're going to come back into play, and we're going to move on towards the Astrolabe. I am going to get a health pot. I am going to heal here. And yeah, it's one of the really cool things about War Javelin and Marksman's Bow together is that you got a really, you get a lot of hang time opportunities. And I'm just kind of, because of the fact that it's like a one-time shot, you can shoot it from like pretty much anywhere on the map and you'll be able to aim and hit enemies. As you can see, I pick up this Challenge Rift. And yeah, I mean, I love just being able to do like trick shots and stuff like that with Marksman's Bow, as well as the War Javelin. I think I have the same input as I do for both of them, like the same problems and the same things I like about them. So I figured I might as well do them together. So I'm looking back at this and I'm just like, what was I thinking? Because, so you can roll those saw blades now in version 2.1, but when they're shooting out like that, I should have just ducked. That was my strategy before. I would duck, roll, but I didn't do that there because I was trying to just roll. And yeah, I have gotten too used to the new system. I have to really embrace the old system of doing things, because that was definitely way better. Or at least as far as dealing with saw blades are concerned, because it's a little bit more efficient to do it that way. Bomber is going to refuse to down smash, so I'm just going to kill it with the javelin. And we're going to go ahead and move to collector. This is going to be kind of a weird fight. And the thing I was talking about earlier about the teleportation being kind of hilarious, if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm about to do. If you don't know what I'm talking about, enjoy. It's going to be great. But so far, we're doing okay. You know, we're getting a couple hits off here and there. But, you know, marksman's bow, not the greatest weapon against bosses in the world for bosses not named concierge. So I'm just trying to get as many hits off as possible. But do get them on one heal. And keep in mind, I only have 31 in my main stat. That's the main reason I don't go to concierge, because you don't get any scroll frag. You get like 3 scroll fragments, but the way to get to concierge is through ossuary and through ramparts, where you get no scroll fragments. Well, you get like 2, but like it sucks. Anyways, I teleport back to the room with all the enemies, and because of that, I thought I soft locked again, because I wanted to try this, because I don't run War Javelin too much, because I try to get rid of it before bosses. So I was just like, why not? Let's do it. And this is where we ended up. And collector, poor collector, he's just trying to attack. He's just desperately trying to reach me. He is going to pull me into another room, so the game does not soft lock. I didn't think it was going to. I thought at the very worst he was just going to go back to the enemy room, and then I was going to be able to do whatever from there. So it wasn't a huge deal. But I am able to get him to heal, and I'm just going to fire off a couple more shots on him, and then I do have disengagement in the backpack, as well as tranquility, because tranquility is really good in this situation. I'm going to barely avoid the first tornado, and then avoid all the subsequent ones as well. And he's going to do the downward lasers, and pretty soon he's going to be healing. I'm going to drop both of my turrets, and then fire off my marksman's bow, and I'm going to avoid the tornadoes again. And yeah, I'm going to javelin, make him drop the panacea, go back to the javelin, pick up the panacea, drink it, and then I'm going to avoid the little spinny thingy. And then I wanted to get the kill with the war javelin, so I was trying to do that, but I didn't. And then I got hit with the tornado right as I was about to get the no-hit. So, unfortunately didn't get the no-hit, but war javelin, pretty okay against bosses. I mean, it's good against 2 bosses, right? It's good against, or it's even 3 if you want to consider Mama Tick boss. That's like, it's because she's against the wall, so you do the max damage all the time against Mama Tick. So it's good against 3 bosses. Giant, it's an absolute mess. You know, Kanji is kind of variable. Hand of the King gets garbage against it, and Collector, it's kind of whatever. But you know, War Javelin, it's a good weapon. I enjoy it. It's fun. Like I just like moving around, teleporting, and doing all this crazy shit. Like it's fun for me. And yeah, that is the War Javelin at number 6. And number 5 is going to be a weapon I do not showcase much on this channel, but it is the Torch. And the Torch is a really cool weapon. It drops from, I believe, the spawners, the ones that put out the corpse juices and stuff. And it's a very interesting weapon because there's a lot of things people don't know about it. And because of its perception as, again, low base DPS, as I was talking with the balance blade, people have this perception of it, but it's actually quite a good weapon. And I'm going to show you in that run. So here we go with the Torch at number 5. So I decided that instead of doing another dual bind type of run, because I already did that with the balance blade, let's just do regular melee shield, which I don't think I've done outside of the symmetrical lance run. And even that, I was kind of going back and forth a little bit. So what I decided to do here is take a Bloodthirsty, let's take Assault Shield, frontline all the red shields, and yes, Assault Shield is now red, which is pretty awesome. And I have a Hakuto's bow, like I have it unlocked, but I probably won't get it. I don't know, we'll see, maybe, who knows, anything can happen, right? We're gonna see Challenge Rift right here. And while we're in the Challenge Rift, I'll kind of talk about the Torch a little bit. So, Torch has always been really good, like since it came out. And I'm not sure what the issue with Torch people had was with before. It might have been a DPS issues, kind of like what I was talking about with the balance blade, as I said. But for the most part, it did a good amount of damage. Because the thing with the Torch you got to remember is it does 2 fire stacks. It does one on the enemy and one on the ground. So you get 2 fire stacks, and if you have an oil grenade, or if you have something that gives you inflammable oil, like I have with my infantry grenade right now, or with pretty much any shield can give you inflammable oil, then you're going to have that burning oil right away. And before 2.1 was released, you could use it with Hakuto's bow, and then the burning oil with Hakuto's bow is just absolutely deadly. So there's going to be a lot of chaos right here. So I accidentally used the Ram Rune almost into the spikes, but it doesn't end up happening. And then I have to avoid the Yeeter yeeting stuff at me. And then I see a curse chest. I'm like, okay, what's the best way to take this? What I should have done, I should have killed the Thorny beforehand. I should have taken care of the Inquisitor, because Thornies are a little tricky when it comes to these curse chests, and having a melee weapon, it can be a bit of an issue. But what I decided to do here is I'm going to use my flame turret, and I jumped just in time. So I got a little bit lucky there, because I thought that I was going to get hit by something, but didn't end up happening. And especially because the Yeeter threw her kids at me, and I was like, oh dear, that's not good. But luckily, able to avoid everything, and then the Yeeter that was thrown before ends up dying, and I'm able to kill the Yeeter, the source of all my problems, and then able to kill them from there. So, pretty good start to the run, and Torch pretty much goes well with everything. I mean, again, because it does 2 fire stacks, and that can really help against smaller enemies like rats and stuff like that. And I gotta say, I take a grappling hook, and I pretty much don't let go of it. I just only upgrade it in Cavern, but grappling hook is amazing, especially because I can do stuff like that. And it's a lot better now. The main problem is, like, it just did not reach enemies that I needed it to reach before, but it's excellent at this point. Like, it's one of the best skills in the entire game for melee. And yeah, I mean, I really like grappling hook, and it works well with Torch. But anyways, back to my whole thing about the small enemies. So you have the rats, which are one of the most annoying enemies in the entire game, and because of those fire stacks, you're able to hit them multiple times, and from there, even if you miss them, they're still going to be burned, so you'll be able to kill them without really much of a problem. And I gotta say, with grappling hook and with this flame turret that I'm going to get rid of in a little bit, I'm doing really good right now. I'm barely able to avoid the cage because I ducked down at the last second. And then an infected worker shows up, because why wouldn't it? And it tries to hit me with the barrel. Nothing happened. I ended up avoiding it. And now we are in the ancient sewers, because I love ancient sewers. So the route, what we're going to do here is we are going to go to Graveyard right after. And so this is another really good Hand of the King skip if you want to know how to do the scroll fragment thing efficiently and skip Hand of the King and all that stuff. It's the route that I did with the Balanced Blade, the route that I did with the War Javelin, and the route that I did with the Torch. So that's basically how that works, and it's pretty cool. Like, and you end up with at most like 1 extra scroll fragment, so it doesn't end up being a big deal. The extra jump saved me from getting hit by the bombs, luckily. And again, I do take Predator with combo, same thing as Balanced Blade. I think those are the 3 best brutality mutations right now. Some people like Vengeance. I don't particularly use Vengeance, so it doesn't matter to me. Why did they place a challenge rift thing right at the gap of the ladder? That's hard to see. And this is kind of, I'm going to go on a little tangent here. I wish that the challenge rift, like the little thing on the ground, I wish that was like yellow or gold or like some bright color, because it's really hard to see. Like, I barely saw it in time, as I stupidly take a hit there that I did not need to take. But yeah, I mean, it gets kind of cumbersome at times when they're a little bit difficult to see, but I mean, I see them, I want to say like probably, I don't know, 60 to 70% of the time, which is a fairly decent rate. And yeah, having extra jumps in a challenge rift sometimes it feels like you need to have it. I mean, theoretically you don't need to, but yeah, I mean, I kind of messed up a lot in this challenge room, but yeah, I do wish that it was a different color. And yeah, anyways, kanji time. And yeah, kanji's not going to be too much of a problem. One of the problems that you end up with melee weapons sometimes, especially with the shorter range, like the Torch has, is that kanji kind of just goes wherever she feels like. So I have to pick my spots and then just make sure that I get some hits off, and I just kind of do my thing and then just do as much as I can, and don't try to put too much pressure on myself to do it. And by do it, I mean to hit her, because as soon as you try too hard to hit her, that's when you're going to run into problems. So we're going to kill the first tentacle. Predator is going to activate, but the tentacles are still going to come after me, which is very beneficial because I don't end up in like awkward positions. So I will say that is good. I don't know if that's intentional, but I like that. That's good to know, at least in this particular fight. Kanji's going to once again dash at me, and then I'm going to parry, and she goes in a spot where I know I'm not going to be able to hit her. So I'm going to roll away and then use my grappling hook and then just keep hitting her, and she is going to summon her tentacles again. And it's going to be the same thing, just whenever a tentacle comes to me, parry, roll to the side that I was continuing to run in, and then after that, it'll pop up, and then I kill it from there. That's the basic strategy with this, except when the tentacles don't feel like popping up, and I've never really understood when they do that and when they don't do that, because sometimes they will pop up and sometimes they won't, and that's when I get really confused, and that's typically when I get hit, but luckily I didn't get hit that time. Fun fact, if you use a grappling hook before she does her dash attack, she will not do her dash attack. So, potentially good information for you to know. And we are just going to use the grappling hook one more time, hit her a couple times with the torch, and that is going to be the Kanji fight. So, perfected Kanji, feels pretty good to do that. I've been playing really well against her lately, especially in brutality. And like I said, we're going to jump right into the graveyard. The rats are stupid enough to actually get hit into spikes, and they literally ran into it. It's so weird, but hey, I'm not complaining. I don't have to deal with them. At least it wasn't me that hit the spikes, because I've seen that level generation before. Not the exact C, but I've seen that particular part in Graveyard, and I have hit the spikes, like just potatoed right into it. So that gets very frustrating. Torch does not work in water, by the way, because yeah, it's water, and that's one of the reasons I didn't go to Mama Tick. I actually decided on the fly that I was gonna go to Graveyard and do the skip to the Hand of the King, like skipping High Peak Castle, because the way the scroll fragments were, I would have either gone to Mama Tick and then Graveyard Cavern and then High Peak Castle / Distillery, or what I would have done instead was what I'm doing now. So yeah, I get hit by the electric cage, but I mean, considering that there was another electric cage on the outside, I will take the small hits. Because I can just go and heal, because there's a food shop in here. That's one of the other reasons I like Graveyard, because there's a food shop. And I can decrease melees, I can do whatever I want. And for once in Graveyard, I'm actually going to get the curse fairly early. And I get a throwing knife with Toxic Cloud, so I decided to keep it in my backpack for now, because I'm thinking, okay, am I going to use this? I'm not 100% certain, so let's kind of figure this out. And then I decide, okay, you know what? I should probably keep it there. I don't want to parry without an AoE shield on a curse, because especially with Graveyard, those mobs get pretty big. There's like 3 or 4 rats, and then there's other stuff going on, so I don't really want to put myself in a position to fail. Stupidly, I didn't use my grappling hook there. I could have really been bad, and I almost get hit by the catcher. I've died on that curse before. It sucks to die on a curse in Graveyard, because it's like you come so far and then you end up dying. It's like the Sepulchre curse too. So I try to play it a little bit carefully. I kind of just sit there and I'm like, okay, I almost got hit, so let's reset. Let's calm down. I'm going to visit the shop, see if I need to pick up any other torches. I don't end up picking up another torch, and I'm going to go ahead and kill these last 3 enemies. There's an Inquisitor there, so what I decide to do is use my grappling hook, get the Predator going, kill one of the rats, and then I miss, and then kill both rats, kill the catcher, and then that is that for Cavern. So now we are going to go to the Cavern, as I said, and we are going to do the Hand of the King skip, and we are going to pretty much just maul everybody in here. Like, spoiler alert, I don't take a single hit in Cavern, and that's something Torch does really well. Like, it ramps up that damage very quickly, because again, you're doing 2 forms of damage. It's like a blood sword, but in my opinion, it's better than the blood sword. I think this is a great weapon. Like, it doesn't really have any flaws to it. So especially like when you're getting that inflammable oil ready, like, it ends up being a force, and you can see that right now. Even in water, it's 2-shotting demons, and you have to remember that I'm not doing its main gimmick in water, and I'm still able to do what I need to do. So you may have noticed that my stats had actually increased by a significant amount in the last fight. So this is actually why. I'm going to get the kill off on the Slammer, and I'm going to end up with the Times 4 Amulet, which is pretty awesome. It's been a while since I've gotten one of those. They're really rare, so it's nice to get one. And it's actually going to make this Giant fight a complete joke. And honestly, I think Giant needs a significant health buff because, yeah, I've got a lot of synergy right now, and I'm doing a lot of damage in general, but it gets to a point where the Giant fight just kind of stops being fun after a while and just kind of becomes a formality. So I do want to see Giant get a bit of a health buff, but we're going to move on towards Hand of the King, and it's going to kind of be the same thing here because I'm going to skip High Peak Castle, like I said, and I'm at 36 in my main stat. I'm still using my shield, so I'm going to do a triple parry and then hit him a couple times, and he's going to put in the flags, and then I'm going to be able to check out the enemies. Now we got a Slasher who goes down instantly, and then the Grenadier goes down instantly, and then, of course, as with the War Javelin run, I use it in the wrong direction, but kill Hand of the King, no issues. We're going to go ahead and move on towards the Astrolabe, and we are 3 for 3 on bosses. Can we get the 4th? We have not been able to perfect all bosses so far with the 7 to 5 countdown, but we have to worry about Astrolabe first. Librarians are always a pain in the ass. I do have Corrupted Power, and the electricity from Corrupted Power will be able to help out. And one shot the Elite Failed Experiment because of my Grappling Hook, and again, Grappling Hook is amazing. Barely avoid the Slammer. And I'm looking at this now, and I barely avoided it. You may notice that I have a Hokuto's Bow in the backpack, which is pretty neat. And I got a legendary one. You know, we talked about it a little bit earlier, kind of foreshadowed. And I did pick it up. And it does... I spent a lot of money on getting a Toxic Cloud one, because that's what I wanted. But I did make a mistake in this run. And the mistake that I made was actually that I never upgraded my Forge after Arboretum. So I still have a level 7 one. In Cavern, at the weapon shop, I mistakenly chose shields by accident. And, you know, I got a level 12 shield, which is great, but... you know, it doesn't really give me much more power. So, I mean, it's fine. Mistakes were made, but it's not like I'm not doing well with this. I would have preferred a level 12 weapon as opposed to a level 12 shield, but it's fine. I mean, we're going to go fight the Collector, and I am going to actually swap out my Hokuto's Bow for my shield at some point during this, but not yet. I'm going to parry him a bunch first. So one thing to note is that you can actually switch up your gear mid-fight. Like, you can, like, I'm doing it right here. I'm literally doing it in the middle of a boss fight. So that's kind of funny, but it's pretty cool to do. And, I mean, obviously you want to do it, like, when you have, like, a little bit of a rest. Like, when he's doing that healing phase, that's when I did it. And I don't know exactly why I did it. I just figured, okay, like, I need to get a little bit more damage off. Oh, I know why, because... I accidentally chose combo instead of open wounds, and then I only realized once I was inside of the observatory, and I was like, oh crap, like, I don't actually have any power on this torch right now, so I have to put Hokuto's Bow in one of the slots, but I'm able to get him at 3 heals, and now we're pretty much rolling at this point. I just need to avoid the spinny attack again, shoot him with the Grappling Hook as he does the most annoying boss attack in the game, and then I'm going to avoid the fireballs as I keep electrocuting him, and now he's going to heal with the Panacea. I'm going to shoot him with the Hokuto's Bow, pick up the Panacea, and then he is actually going to do his little spinny attack again, and then use the Grappling Hook into the Torch, and that is a perfect boss fight. 4 for 4, and yeah, I mean, so Torch, great weapon. I really like the fact that you can do double stacks of fire. I like the fact that it has a decent base DPS associated with it. It's easy to synergize, and plus you're giving yourself a status. Like, giving yourself automatic burn is extremely useful. So I do really like this weapon. I don't really think it has any flaws to it. Unlike the War Javelin and the Balance Blade, which have, you know, they have flaws. I don't think the Torch really has any flaws. So yeah, that is going to be 7 through 5. Stay tuned for 4 through 2. That is going to be uploaded maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. And then number 1 will be released either Tuesday or Wednesday. So be on the lookout for that. And then it's called the Hero Slay releases Thursday. So I'll be putting out all the content then. But thank you guys so much for joining. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch my content. Leave a like and subscribe and all of that good stuff. I'll see you all later. Have a great night, everybody, and stay safe out there.